a lot of agents can now be built without code, but you're creating a product that a normal person who's not technical should be able to use. That's what you're selling it to. Now, how to sell it? If I were to make 5 million tomorrow, would I stop working? No.
Ritesh Verma is the successful founder of Slight LLC. He builds highly scalable and efficient software automation tools for a variety of industries.
Every industry, every company, every individual needs automation in their life, right? Whether they realize it or not. So there's a whole idea of like AI replacing jobs. So because it's inevitable, you should no longer like shy away from it. You try to embrace it and now be on the forefront of the movement. Probably triple my like full-time in a month off of just that. You're gonna have a lot of failures, but at the same time, if you have fun with everything that you're doing and don't get too attached to like the final result, it's gonna keep you in the game longer.
Gone down this pathway and created these income streams.
So I got kind of lucky when it came to, I started pretty early, right? I think when you leave college, right, and you start your full-time job, that itself is a big experience, a big life change for you, where you know you're engulfed in this working your full-time job and doing the 9 to 5, right? And it's something that you're not used to. So after 9 to 5, you're probably really tired, you're gassed, you're ready to chill, watch Netflix, or maybe go play some sport, hit the gym, something very like relaxing, right?
Yeah.
But because it's a new thing and you don't have that drive maybe for side hustles right outside of college, if you haven't already started it, it's kind of hard to develop that, right when you enter a 9 to 5. Like you're doing a life change, and now are you going to make things harder by adding side hustles on top of that? You're probably not, right? And now as you're getting older, as you are getting more responsibility, the idea of the side hustle just remains an idea, right? For a lot of people, unfortunately. But if you are starting early, you kind of have like that jump pad that, you're already starting at a higher spot than most people, right? And you can potentially scale that side hustle and make it something that's actually worthwhile. So I just started early, started in college. Started with, I think, uploading SAT YouTube videos.
Oh, wow.
When I was like a freshman in college, made a video where I did like the SAT non-calculator section in like 5 minutes. It got like 1.2 million views.
Wow.
And it was pretty crazy. And before I knew it, I ended up becoming like an SAT influencer.
I've never heard those two words together, SAT influencer.
I did not have that on my my roadmap of life. But that's what happened. I think I originally wanted to be like a stock trader influencer, right? But the videos weren't getting views. So I was like, all right, forget it. I'll try something else. And it got a lot of views. And then I was like, all right. I went from like 100 subscribers to like 13,000. And then
that's crazy.
Yeah. And that's when I was like, all right, so I'm just going to create more SAT videos. And before I knew it, I was pushing a lot of SAT content. I got videos that had over 100,000 views. Another one had 1 million views. And I just went all in on it. I launched like SAT courses, notes, the whole tutoring, the whole little shebang. I was a freshman in college, and then COVID hit 2020. So you're at home anyways. So remote tutoring, it worked out perfectly in that case.
That's awesome. So was that also at the time then the job that brought you an income too, or were you doing another job then?
No. So that was when I was a freshman in college, right? So I had nothing else going for me in terms of like income. That was it. It was just YouTube ad payments and sponsorships and like the tutoring.
If you like what you're seeing and you want to see more, be sure to click on the like button, subscribe to our channel, and click on the bell. It lets YouTube know you want to support the This Is The Way podcast, and it helps spread the word, and we greatly appreciate it. And now, back to the episode.
So then YouTube obviously became this, I don't want to call it a base, but at least a distribution platform that you had in your back pocket. You at least had understood it, pretty well. But so what happened? When did you decide that it was time to transition out of, or not out of, I don't know, maybe you still have the SAT one there. When did you decide to build the next product?
Yeah, so with the SAT YouTube, I think when I was a junior, I was like, man, this is boring. Like creating SAT videos, like I feel like I've said everything you need to know to really conquer the SAT. Like how much more? At that point, I was regurgitating old content. So I was like, this is really boring. I'm not having fun doing this. When I was a junior, I think by that time, freshmen in college at my college were recognizing me from YouTube, right? And I thought that was pretty cool. but then I was also like, yeah, I don't want to be just seen as SAT guy. Like that's
Yeah.
it, you know. So then I think it was really after college, like my senior year, I started my tech channel. I didn't really go too deep into it.
Uh-huh.
'Cause I was learning computer science in college, bachelor's in computer science. That's what I graduated with. And I was just creating like one video a month about like, oh, this is my industry experience at whatever, and this is my resume as a software as a computer science major, right? Those early videos. Uh, I knew that tech channels, right, could result in a lot of income as well as a lot of growth, and it was more relevant to me because I'm like in tech, I'm learning computer science. It makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
And one other like big main motive was when I had my ST channel, I still have it. It's inactive, right? It's I think right now it's at 80,000 subscribers, but when it was at like 50,000, I had made a video of me coding like a web agent, right? And it's completely left field because it's all SAT content. All of a sudden, you see a video of me coding, and so I was like,
Yeah.
"What?" Right? And it flopped. I expected it to flop, but I just wanted to show something else.
Uh-huh.
And like it was weird. Like 4 months later, it started picking up a lot of steam. And
Oh,
it
wow.
hit over 100K views. I think now it's at like 250. But it's been at 250 for a long time. But it was me coding a web agent, and it was buying products on Walmart like very quickly.
Yeah.
And some people it went like semi-viral. So a lot of people saw that and they started emailing me saying, "Hey, can you make me a web agent? Can you make me a web agent?"
Crazy.
Yeah. And then one of the guys who emailed me was actually the owner of the company that runs the Times Square billboard, the one Times Square billboard
Wow.
where the ball drops.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he's like a golf. He liked golf putters, clubs, like Scotty Cameron. That was a website, and yeah, he wanted like a web agent for that, and I built it for him. It worked really great, and then he gave me a deal. He was like, "Hey, how about you gave me this agent forever, and I'll put you on Times Square for free." And I took that deal. So yeah, so go to my Instagram photo, my Instagram profile, like my first Instagram like pinned post is literally me on Times Square. So
That's awesome.
yeah, that was pretty cool. So
That's incredible. Very few people could ever see that happen. So
yeah. And I was in college, so it was cool. You know, it was like
yeah.
cool flex. But and then
You-
I got the bunch of emails like similar to that. Can you make a web agent for this site, for this site, for this site? So I saw there's a lot of opportunity in web automation, right? And
Yeah.
I had created the only way I was able to create web agents was because when I was a freshman, like end of my first semester, one of my friends, he reached out to myself, my other friend, to create a web agent for him for Walmart, right? But a way more complicated version that was actually
Yeah.
gonna like get PS5s and all that, right? We had to self learn, spent like 7-8 months learning it, right? How to create web agents for like these pretty secure sites, right? Because automating can be really hard. There's captchas, there's securities that will block your web scraper or whatever, right? So we had to self-learn everything. Very limited resources online at the time. Even now, still very limited resources on web automation. So my friend and I, we were like in the trenches, just trying to figure out how to put two and two together. Eventually, we were able to get like 300 PS5s. We were gonna charge for the web agent, like we were gonna charge. Oh, so 300 PS5s across all of our users, not us, each other. But
Got
across,
it.
yeah, that would have been crazy.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, the reason why these web agents are needed is because
Yeah.
these are products that drop and get sold out pretty quickly. So you were trying to get ahead of it.
Yeah, exactly. So out within seconds, right? So speed is like all that matters because if you go normally like a regular user going on the browser, it takes forever to load the page, right? So you got to use HTTP requests to ping the servers. So that's hard. It's not easy. So yeah, we built that. We had about like 150 users, all for free though, but they're using our agent. After the PS5 drop was very successful, we're like, all right, we're going to charge people like $300 a month. We're about to earn crazy cash as sophomores in college now. The next week, the website updated and our agent stopped working. We couldn't fix it. And so we earned $0 after like 8 months of like work and all that. But yeah, it was a
Dang.
great learning experience though. Learned a lot. Learned a lot.
That's amazing. When I hear you say those things, I can't help but wonder, would you say that while you were in college, you learned more through all your business ventures than you did college, or did you learn quite a bit, college, and I'm underselling it?
Man, that's a good question. No, out of University of Maryland College Park, they were really good. The computer science programs like top notch.
Yeah.
But the real world experience you can really get by
Yeah.
doing, real world applications.
I
So
bet.
when it comes to that, that was definitely missing, right? As most college programs, have that missing because
Yeah.
most students aren't applying their skills outside of like your weekly school projects, right?
Sure.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that experience creating that web agent, like it took my skills as a developer. Like I wasn't even that confident of a developer as a freshman in college, but
Yeah.
after that, like I knew, like, oh, yeah, I'm good.
That's
I
amazing.
I can do it. So
And when you were doing that, were you using, I assume this was before, and people are leveraging heavily in N8N, Make, stuff like that
yeah,
today.
this
But
is
was
before,
yeah,
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 yeah, yeah.
that's amazing. So then, you mentioned the tech channel. So do you have different YouTube channels, or do you just have the one channel?
So I have the SAT channel that posted that one bot video on, as well as
Yeah,
SAT videos. And because of the success of that one bot video, I was like, all right, I'll make a tech channel that's centered
that's
around web automation, AI automation now.
okay.
That's my channel I'm mainly focused on now. SAT
Okay.
channel I barely post on. The tech channel is my main focus, where I
Are you
upload like
are you still bringing sales in through the SAT channel?
No, I'm not. Yeah, I get tutoring requests, but I just like, no, I'm sorry, I don't tutor anymore.
Yeah,
The courses, I don't really push them. It was great. It was a great, like, I think I made
sure.
like my first 100K off of my SAT channel, like at least 80,000.
That's
But
amazing.
yeah, it was great. Like as a junior in college, a freshman to junior year of college. But yeah, I feel like I know I look back at it, and at that time I didn't understand sales funnels,
Yeah,
right? I don't. So like I imagine if I had like a big mentorship program where I would like really take people, handhold them, I could have
sure.
ran it up as a
Yeah,
as
yeah,
a college
yeah.
person. But, yeah,
That's amazing though. But I get what you're saying too, where the excitement needs to be there to want to kind
yeah.
of continue those things. So you moved on to the things you are excited about. So right now, how many businesses are you actively uh, building, or at least are stood up right now that you have income coming in from?
Yeah. I technically they're all under the same LLC, but when it comes to like separate like fields almost, I have
Yeah,
like a SaaS, right? For Instagram outreach, I have a SaaS for the scheduling for as a scheduling automation agent. Um, that's like an agent as a service.
yeah.
The acronym for that is like a bad word, so you know. So um, then I had my YouTube, right? I guess that's three right there. I have a mentorship now where I teach people how to develop agents,
Yeah,
right? Four. Um, yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff falls under YouTube. Like through YouTube, everything else grows with it,
yeah,
right? I did some web design here and there, but I didn't heavily pursue it, right? Did not
okay,
heavily pursue that. You don't want shiny object syndrome, right? There's always
sure.
something cool you could build, but you gotta let
Yeah.
things.
No, well, and that's why I was curious, because it's funny. Some of the advice out there from some people is you should have X amount of income streams, but then other people are like, nah, focus on one, build that one out. And what I think is interesting, and I've seen this with a few people, is when they have a distribution path and a way to be able to do that, then it's like, how do you think about that? Again, I think about YouTube in these terms. How do you build out on top of that? And then it's the adjacent businesses that make sense around there. Did you say that one of yours was? Do you actually have a course where you teach people the stuff you're doing, or do you
Uh,
just do coaching?
it's like it's like a two-in-one. It's like a course and like one-on-one meetings. Just
Okay.
because a course is like, yeah, a course is cool. There's a lot of pre-recorded content. Like, I have a lot of pre-recorded content I make just for them to
Yeah.
watch. Um, but you need that one-on-one experience, with like the person who you're learning from. I feel like because
Right.
I spent like 3 years tutoring SAT, so I could tell that I think people who like got that one-on-one experience versus just watch the
Yeah.
course, the one-on-one experience is so invaluable,
And they're
right?
more likely to see it through too.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's kind of that accountability aspect as well.
Yeah.
And then with the mentorship, I was like, okay, I'll just put them together. Right. Do the weekly meetings as well as like a bunch of pre-recorded content that they can just be watching, and it takes them like through the process of going from like learning nothing about AI agents and web agents to becoming pretty good at it.
This is pretty amazing. So then I have to ask this question that I'm sure our listeners are going to want to know, which is, so how are you doing all this while you at the same time are also delivering at your, 9 to 5,
Employed.
whatever it is? Yeah. Yeah. How do you
Yeah,
manage
yeah.
it?
It's funny because one of my students literally asked me this like 2 days ago. He asked me like on Discord. He was like, "Hey, can you give me advice about time management? I feel like you have more than 24 hours." I was like, "Nah,
Right.
nah." It's actually a funny story. So this is when I was a senior in high school. Like my goal was to go to Stanford University. My sister went there too, and it was like number one computer science. So while I was like, applying for Stanford and all these other like big name colleges, you know how you have those college interviews with like the interviewer for that college. I had an interview with this guy. I really wish I remember his name, but he was from like the Harvard. He was like a business life coach, or he
Okay.
coaches Fortune 500 businesses, the CEOs.
Yeah.
And then he was telling me, he was like, hey, I think we had like a 3 hour interview, right? It was supposed to be for 30 minutes. But we just talked about business. At the time, I didn't really know much about it, right? But I knew I wanted to go into entrepreneurship. And then he said, the biggest advice, the best advice I can give you is learn how to delegate, right? And delegate quickly. Before you delegate, make sure you've done the task you're delegating for, right?
Yeah.
So I always remember that, right? So even now, I kind of follow the same process where, for example, if someone reaches out to me from YouTube saying, hey, can you build me an agent? I now have people that I can refer that project to, right?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I'll take my cut out of it and then
Yeah.
they'll work on it, right?
Nice.
YouTube, I have an editor, a designer. So for YouTube, the hardest part is editing, right? That takes a lot of time. So I have an editor who does that, right? She's way better than I could ever be. So she handles that. The mentorship is just me. So that's something that takes up most of the time right now, I'd say.
Yeah.
The shift agent, my friend is a developer for that. He works on it mainly, right? And that's like in a cruise. Like we probably spend like 1 hour a week on that now. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. The Instagram one, I have a partner who handles most of that, right? It's also like a cruise state. So yeah, a lot of delegation, to be honest. And yeah.
Go ahead. What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
No, I was saying I know a lot of, so the one thing about it, right? For example, the scheduling automation one, that I could be earning 5 figures a month if I had just done it myself, right?
Mhm.
Because it's a split, I'm earning like mid 4 figures a month, but it's all
Got it.
profit. And it's only 1 hour a week of my time, right? So it's, that's barely
Yeah.
anything. Now, could I have been making more? Yes, but then I would also get much more time,
Right.
right? At least in the original parts of it, right?
Yeah.
And then I love traveling. I like having fun. I like hanging out with friends, not having to be, oh, I can't go here, go to this event because I have to do work, right? I never want to be the one saying that. So I'm willing to give that like that payoff, right? Where you sacrifice equity or money for, experiences.
That's interesting because I was curious there as you said all that. I'm like, but are you having to sacrifice a lot of those other things? Because sometimes people do, and sometimes people do it because they prefer not to do the social things. But you found this interesting balance to be able to do so. So I like it.
I'm curious. Is that something that you kind of developed in college, or
Probably.
Probably, yeah. I was just curious what got, because you're pretty young, so to have that mentality, really understand delegation.
Mm-hmm.
Some people take years in the profession in a career to figure that out, but you figure it out pretty quickly.
Yeah. I hope I figured it out kind of quickly, or I hope I figured it out to an extent. I don't know if I.
Well, I think you're much ahead of your peers.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe, but
and a lot of our peers, based on what I'm hearing, yeah.
No, in college, so University of Maryland, at least, it's a public state college. There's a lot of fun, a lot of things happening, a lot of events, and I always thought about, I was like, man, college is like, you're only getting this, and I had a code, so code took a year anyways, right? So junior, senior year, I was like, man, you really only get this time, once in your life, right? So I want to go to every event, every weekend that comes up, right? All my friends are going to. So at that time, I kind of knew, I think I told myself then, I was like, all right, I need to find a way to like not lose a client, right? Because I want to go to an event, but still keep that client, somehow work with that client in some sort of manner, maybe delegate to someone else, find someone who's very capable as well, delegate to them, have some sort of split so I can still enjoy the event, make that profit, right? And everyone's happy. And with that, also set someone else up for success as well. So like everyone's winning in this scenario, right? Maybe I'm winning a little bit less, right? But like, technically, profit wise, I'm winning less. But
but maybe not, because you keep doing this, and then there's the winning side of what that means as you're giving back to others, creating this shared community. It's amazing.
Yeah. No, honestly,
and you're really winning life. Maybe
exactly.
You're winning life. You're doing what makes you happy.
I can go back and probably say like I did not miss much in college. Like I think I lived the full college experience, beginning to end. Like no regrets. So I'm glad I can say that. I feel like if I was that person who's locked in, every weekend and put in that work, I'm sure I could have made a bunch more,
Yeah.
but I would have maybe had the regret and been like, dang, I really wish I had,
Yeah.
allowed myself more fun in college. So
Yeah.
honestly,
That's great. I love it. So then for you right now, um, obviously as you continue to, increase your earnings, what is it that's still driving you? Because technically you're still working your full-time job. So I guess I got two questions here. Why are you still working there if you're doing as well as you are? And what
yeah.
keeps driving you? Because it seems like the game is part of it for you, but please share
Yeah.
more.
Two things on that. First, a full time job, just because I get this question so many times from my peers as well, as
Yeah.
well as subscribers from YouTube. Um, I do have like an overall like mindset. If I make 3x my salary,
Yeah.
I'll you know
You're
become
done.
entrepreneur full time.
Yeah.
But also, then I realized further that I don't even think it's a 3x at that point. I think if I were to make $1 million tomorrow, I would still keep the full time on at least like to the minimum. I want to do the whole corporate America, experience. I feel that's an experience of life you should have. So I'll be in the corporate America experience for 2 years come this summer, right? Um, Usually a 2 year mark is when people of my like group get promoted, like around that area.
Yeah.
So I think once I get promoted, right, and then I can really say I did the whole corporate America
Yeah.
experience.
Right.
Then after that, I'll probably look into like pursuing things myself,
Yeah.
right? So that's a big thing. I think just having that stamp, like, okay, I did the corporate America thing. I can
Yeah.
say that.
Just don't let them suck you in with
Yeah, no,
promotion.
they say it's golden handcuffs in tech, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
So,
that's
yeah.
Art and I, we had that
Trust me,
advice.
we can relate.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
were in corporate
exactly.
America
It
for
did.
a
It kept
long
being
time.
promotions. There's this. We were pursuing some of our, side hustles, but then it's like,
Yeah.
So, but I think where you're at and the momentum you have is a bit different. So with that, what drives you? Like, are you like, because you mentioned a number? I
Yeah.
don't know. Is it a number? Is it a I'm doing this
Yeah.
because of X?
I think well, the number, in terms of the number, like being able to be a multimillionaire, right? So have that full financial freedom, right? Like you have your nice house, you have your nice car, you can virtually buy anything that makes sense, at least,
Yeah.
right?
So you're not looking for the jet, okay?
Yeah. Not with jet to a high degree. Your family's taken care of.
Yeah.
You can help your friends without looking at your own wallet, Um, and yeah, once you reach that financial status, I think like that's like a couple million, right? That's pretty good, right? After taxes, right? That's pretty solid.
He's
And then,
smart. He's thought about that too.
Yeah.
right. But it's like if I were to make 5 million tomorrow, would I stop working? No, because then I think I like building businesses, going about the whole entrepreneur route. It's like a video game. I was a
Yeah.
big gamer when I was like in middle school, big Call of Duty guy, right? So like having that gaming experience and really turning business into a game, like the dopamine aspect, the ups
Yeah.
and the downs, right? The whole it's really purposeful work, I feel like, right? So that's what definitely drives me, right? Just building new businesses. Like I want to have like a really successful exit in like a tech product, right? That's like a goal of mine,
Yeah.
right? I want to after that I want to go into like an actual physical product based business, right? And to see how it works, right?
Yeah.
To see how it is, see how, like try
I
to
love it.
market this product on TikTok Shop and go about that route. But
Yeah. That's great. I mean, what I hear too is a lot of it's that learning for you. I mean, when you mentioned that you want to have that corporate life experience, you want to have the exit, the digital product or the exit
Yeah.
experience in general, the physical like business. I can relate to a lot of these things. And I think a lot of people, probably can, but it's like there's this drive with that where it's almost like you want to just prove to yourself that you could do this one, you could do this one, you could do that
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Or if I end up failing like flat on my face, I say at least I tried, right?
Yeah. No,
Or,
exactly it. Yeah.
and I probably have fun doing it. So
That's right.
I want to do something that I don't have fun with. I think right now I'm in a position where I can choose things that I'll have fun with doing, and I can do those things. But to a high scale, probably not yet.
Yeah.
But I know I'm in like the bracket where I can like chill, have fun, not have to worry too much about much financially, at least.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't have like a house or anything. Those big
Sure.
purchases, a wife yet. So those big purchases aren't coming, But yeah, I think like just having fun with what you're doing, right? That's the biggest thing. And then there's this other one thing. I think it's like a revelation I had to myself. I'm sure everyone's already come about this in business, but I think there's like stages of making money online in general. It's like at first you're pursuing the money, right? As like the hustler mentality, pursuing the money. Oh my God, first 10K, first 20K, whatever month, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like, man, I really want to create something very valuable, something like revolutionary, something valuable. And the money comes with that, right? So, yeah, I think that's the stage I'm at. I want to create something very valuable, like cool, like like dang, that's tough. You built that, you grew this to this much. Like this is really tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm sure money will come with that. But I
Yeah.
that's I just want to be more valuable things, right?
Yeah.
And so
You mentioned going back to what you mentioned around the corporate experience.
mhm.
Um, is there things that you're learning from the corporate experience, or you're still waiting to learn because you know that learning you could apply directly back to your side businesses to eventually your main business?
um, so as a software engineer, I guess I do work with different technologies that I wouldn't have probably worked with outside of like my 9 to 5. I think in terms of learning, I still will learn more outside just because 9 to 5s at big companies they move slower in general,
Yeah.
just like the
And
processes that are going
and
on.
it's focused usually into
Yeah,
this one area, whereas you're playing everywhere right now. Yeah.
yeah, right. Yeah, because when you're your own boss, entrepreneurship, you can do what you want. You can
Yeah.
explore. If a new API comes out or a new like tech like product comes out, you can try it out.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
firewall
Yeah. Yeah.
blocking.
Exactly.
So yeah,
So
it's
so
you
then
learn certain things. You learn certain things, but yeah.
because that's why it's like curious because for that to be a goal, I'll admit it's one of those ones where normally I hear people either say that they just want to either get out of corporate America, or maybe there's something there, like if they know they're going to build a business one day that's really big, that size, they might want to look at how the inner workings,
Yeah,
work.
yeah,
So
true.
that's why it was like, trying to understand a little bit of that because you literally probably surpass a lot of knowledge, like because you've accelerated, you've been building it for X amount of years, whereas a lot of people
Yeah,
are only building it in the job,
yeah,
which just gives you this new level of insight. And at some point, I figure, individuals start to get a little frustrated too because they're like, "Come on, people, you're holding us up here."
yeah, yeah.
It's incredible that you're still, pushing forward when some people are making the mistake of quitting before they have their plan. Although you are obviously are very entrepreneurial, very smart. Theoretically, there's that other argument that if you did leave, not that
Yeah.
the corporate your employer would want saying this, but the reality is, I'm sure they think about it too. But you could probably 2x, 3x, 4x, like the time you're putting there over there.
Yeah, yeah. No, I've thought of that. I've thought of
Mhm.
that too.
Yeah,
But like I said, I want to complete the corporate
I
American
get it.
experience,
Yeah, yeah,
not leave it
sure.
early. So I think once I complete it, then I'll definitely be looking those things much heavier,
Yeah,
right? But no, I do understand that. I imagine if I spent like those 8 hours per day, right, with something
yeah.
else, that would definitely make a big difference.
Yeah, but
Uh,
I get it. I still admire again the way that you just look at it because you're not chasing it like the other. And I think that's the counter answer to what I'm saying here is that it's easy for people who are just doing that to pursue the money, but you have these different things you're unlocking. And again, I think it's unique. I think it keeps you grounded in a really good way too, which I
yeah,
admire. So
yeah, it does
You know,
help. It does help.
yeah,
yeah. There is that, not a stereotype, but kind of that notion that your generation cares more about experiences, and then it goes into, oh, and they're not really hard workers, and now they don't want to be in office and all that. Obviously, only the part about experiences is true with you, because obviously you're a hard worker. But I'm curious from your perspective and looking around your peers and university and college. Do you think that stereotype is true?
Um, yeah, I will say that people like we do like to chase experiences more. So, for example, when I was a kid, but it could have just been because I wasn't on social media like that. I feel like growing up, I didn't see people travel as much. But like now, like people are traveling at such young ages, like to different countries and whatnot, right? Um, like I thought that was only if you were like rich you can do that,
yeah,
or stuff like that. But now like, everyone's doing it, and I was like, oh yeah, we definitely like traveling a lot, right, as a generation. So I generally think it's about experiences because with TikTok and people showing like, oh, I went to Brazil, right?
yeah,
So everyone gets FOMO, and not everyone wants to hop in it. And I think
Yeah.
social media is a big part of that. And
Yeah, that's a great point.
yeah, it rose with our generation. So now, because social media is such a big part of our generations, like I feel like it embodies Gen Z to the max, right? It's like, yeah, everyone wants to do it. I know last year I traveled to like Brazil, Japan, Italy, a lot, right? So
Yeah.
I fell into the FOMO,
Yeah. No, I mean, look, in a few ways to look at it, one's the FOMO. The other one is, you see these things and you realize that, again, there is accessibility. People have proven that almost like, oh, you can do this and you can do once in the changing world, the pandemic, all these things opened up these things that I think are valuable. And that's why for me, it's always hard in generational things, because Art and I remember when, people assume things of our generation, and it's like it's going to keep happening over and over, whatever it is. But I also think asking you that question is really interesting, because that's like asking Tiger Woods if other people are good at golf, meaning you're obviously a standout in the way that you approaching things, that you're not probably you're I don't want to say you're not normal, but you're not, you see the world differently. But it still is interesting as you share that perspective about like the social media and the influence that has on it, because I think people don't think about that sometimes when they say it.
Yeah, social media is crazy. Like the impact it has, like, and the same token, a lot of Gen Z using social media to start their own businesses now, right?
Yeah.
The online entrepreneurships, I feel like it's at an all-time high now because of like things like TikTok Shop and
Yeah.
building
Yeah.
brands.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and that makes me curious too. If right now for you, if you were, I mean, you are coaching people around this. So, what are your thoughts for individuals here who are looking to start their own business? A lot of them specifically because the popularity of agents, for example, or just AI at large. What's your recommendation to them? Because some people today are saying, okay, there was the initial burst that you had, like, that probably helped your YouTube channel where everybody's looking for anything to consume with that. I still think there's a lot. If you look at my feed, it looks like that. That's for sure. But what would you say to anybody today who's thinking about getting started in that space?
Yeah, with web automation, you're gonna need to learn how to code. It's because you're gonna have to learn how to interact with HTML and like JavaScript that's running on the browser.
Yep.
With AI agents, the way it is you can use tools like Make and 8N to build these very powerful AI agents that require little to mostly no code, right? So if you're someone who's new in the space and just wants to learn, like create your first agent today, I would explore N8N, right? I would use N8N to create your first AI automation agent. Simply hook it up with Telegram, send a message like check my email, and it can read out your emails, right? That are unread, right? And that'd be your first like tangible, you can literally see it, try it yourself experience. And I think that'll be enough for you to be like, oh, wow, this is really cool. Let me create more things. Because with Gen Z also, or in general, people have very short-term retention spans. So if they don't get that immediate payout, right?
Yeah.
Like that dopamine, they're not going to want to pursue it. So having an AI agent that's easy to create, they can see the results live, like right in front of them, it's going to make them want to do it more. So
nice.
If you want to enter the space, for sure, try using N8N, create your first.
That makes sense. And for somebody who's doing that, then because obviously the key is all right, that'll get them kind of a sense of this is how it works and how to use it. But for individuals who are actually looking at trying to build, because you built out some products, you've also now built out where you teach others to do this. Like, how would you recommend they go about finding these people or these problems to solve?
Yeah. When it comes to finding problems to solve, I think once you develop the base skills of just developing AI agents or web agents, right? Yeah. Now you are someone who can actually solve these problems, right? Or you can hire someone who knows how to do that. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to finding an agent that you want to develop and like what problem you want to solve, there's a lot of ways people say. They say I do market research, think like brainstorm, put it on a whiteboard, pick an idea, do product market fit test, whatever. Yeah. I think the best, I don't know if it's the best, this is what I just do personally, so I can only speak for myself, is I look at a problem that I actively have, right, that I can automate or that an agent can help me, and I'll create an agent for that. And if I want to turn that agent to a business, I'll look more into like, okay, can this agent that's helping me solve my problem be used for others, right? So for the Instagram agent that does outreach, I was like, okay, if I want to target more people or reach out to them, spending hours sending messages on Instagram takes forever. Why not make an agent that can do it for me? And then once I did that, I was like, let me see if this already exists. And it does sometimes, right? A lot of these products, it's really hard to make a new invention nowadays, right? Yeah. It's more of innovation. So it's like, okay, if the product you have already exists and it's semi-successful, that is already telling you there's a product market fit, because that means there's clients for that product, right? If they're doing numbers,
Right.
there's people they're selling it to. So you can just grab that same market, unless that company has a monopoly on the space,
Yeah.
which most likely doesn't, if it's an AI agent, right? It's for like a niche audience. Then you have you have legs in the game, so you can develop an agent for that and just get like a fraction of the market, and hopefully the market is big enough where you're able to get a good amount of revenue off of that. So that's kind of the model I follow. Make an agent, because the worst case is if no one buys your agent, at least you solve a problem
Still
that
for
you
you.
have.
No, look, I think that's smart. And I also think, ironically, it's again counterintuitive to some of the advice people give out there, which is, find somebody who has a problem, figure out how to solve it. And, don't just assume people are going to want your, but in your point here, it's like, look, build a thing because you're going to use it, optimize it that way, figure it out, and then you get it out there. Now, when you're selling that agent though, how does that work? Like for the product you have now for Instagram, are you selling, is it still, I don't want to call it a software, but it's not like what does the interface look like for that when you're selling it to people?
Right. It's like a UI that's pretty easy to use, right?
Okay.
That anyone can follow. The shift scheduling agent is like another simple React Native UI, right? That's you can just download on your phone, or for the Instagram one, download on your desktop, right?
Yep.
And you can just use that, right? It's because you're creating a product that a normal person who's not technical should be able to use,
Sure.
right?
Okay.
So that's who you're selling it to. And now, how to sell it? I use Reddit for selling, right? I make a Reddit posts, and I learned how to go viral on Reddit pretty consistently.
Nice.
So you can make a Reddit post on like threads that have like millions of followers, right?
Yeah.
And get a lot of eyes to your
Huh.
product, or at least people DMing you, and in the DMs you can sell it to them.
Smart. Okay. Interesting. So then you just tell them about what you did, how it works, and then that's when
Yeah,
they reach out.
you literally people love seeing like small, like your first like $100 online. That's a great headline to share. That will actually get a lot of views on like some Reddits, on
Yeah.
some
Interesting.
subreddits. Yeah. So just sharing like small wins, people love that. People love seeing that.
Okay. And is Reddit the main tool that you use? Do you use any other social media?
So Reddit, YouTube,
YouTube.
obviously personal
Yeah.
brand helps a lot. Reddit is great for anyone who doesn't have a personal brand, because personal brand might take some time, right?
Yeah.
TikTok's a great way to start a personal brand if you want to start one, just because it's so easy to go viral, right? It's a little harder to sell like mentorship services, or like courses, or like high ticket products on TikTok, just because the person hasn't seen much of your content yet, right? There's a rule. It's like someone needs to watch at least 10 hours of your
Yeah.
content before they buy something of
Yeah.
yours, right?
7-Eleven 4 is the Google.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So YouTube is great at that, right?
Yeah.
Long form videos, amazing. But if you want just a personal brand, you want to get started somewhere, do TikTok, right? If you want to get some clientele without the personal brand, try Reddit. No one knows who you are. All they see is your product, and they can judge you based off the product, not who you are as a person. If they hate your product, they won't come try to find you. They know who you are. So
Interesting.
Yeah.
And are you just talking about it on there? Because sharing visuals, I don't know how much.
Yeah, no. You just talk about it on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I assumed. I just wasn't sure if you took a different approach to it. Okay, interesting.
You make a post. You join a subreddit, make a post on it. You can also post on LinkedIn as well. I know a lot of people my age now are starting to do that a good amount. If you're starting your own tech company or your own SaaS, I feel like everyone's pretty supportive from what I see on LinkedIn right now. For young entrepreneurs trying to just make their first tech product or whatever. I know I'm very supportive of that. That's amazing, right?
No, I think what a lot of people overlook is that there's this natural tendency for, not to again date any of us, but like for individuals like Art and I, which I don't want to call older guys, but individuals like us, who's senior in our careers, whatever you want to say. We it's like I think they're fairly active on LinkedIn too, but like that actually want to help and mentor other folks, as long as it feels like one of those where it's like, I don't want to say it's necessarily a win-win. Like we want to root for individuals who are doing the things that either we want to do or we did do. And so I think there's this natural thing as you see these individuals, it's like, you want to help, you want to do it. And I think a lot of people fail to unlock that, or they go about it wrong. Like I remember seeing people on LinkedIn, they're like, how do I find, a mentor? And then I'm like, look, what are you looking for? What are the specific things? And, obviously there is the idea that, think about how you can add value back. And I have a few people I'm mentoring now that I met, through different pathways, because I want to help see them grow. But individuals, some of them at the same time you say this and then they go dark or they don't do it. It's like, they're not really looking for that. But I think if somebody really puts themselves out there, there are so many people on LinkedIn who would love to guide, coach in whichever way is possible. So
yeah, no, totally agree with that. I know a lot of people who would benefit from having a mentor, for example. Or I had like a mentor for like a small period of my life when I was like a senior in high school. I'm still in touch with him here and there,
Yeah.
but he's not like actively mentoring me anymore. But I wish I had a mentor in certain other spots for sure. That would help a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
You
No,
save that learning curve.
sure. No, absolutely. Yeah. That makes sense. I'm also curious then here, as you mentioned, a pathway to the product. Now, does it mean that somebody needs to have that coding experience, or do you think with tools like N8N,
Mhm.
they could build some of these solutions that you're saying? Or is this mainly for the computer,
Yeah,
engineers,
yeah,
information science
yeah.
folks?
If you It really depends on what you're trying to build. A lot of agents, right, can now be built without code because you have Lovable and like Bolt to create the front end, and you have Cursor to create the back end. But with these tools, they're still generating code. So if you
Yeah.
have, I think I'd say the level of coding expertise you needed has significantly been cut,
Uh-huh.
right? You only need a very fundamental understanding to create very valuable products. I think
Yeah.
creating a product just an AI agent just using AI like tools itself, it could create a cool product, but I don't think it'll do super well, right? 'Cause it's gonna be very like plain, if that makes
Yeah.
sense, right?
Yeah.
It's not gonna be dynamic enough to really serve a mass audience, I believe. At least to a degree where they're willing to pay for the solution. You know, I think you're gonna need some sort of like tweaks with the code here and there to make it more either more niche or a little more valuable, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I think over the next year and a half, that like this, well, I'll go to like bottom because I feel
Yeah.
like by then, yeah, at that point, you just test it based on like do the test results pass, right?
Right.
You don't you have to know how to code or anything. Just see if the output matches what you
Yeah.
expect.
Between the AI tools that could code for you and something
Yeah,
like an innate or whatever the future we're not even thinking about looks like, where you're just
yeah.
like, I want this. No, it should do
Exactly.
this. Yeah.
I have some of my students who like so they're working on their own with their own clients, right? So
Yeah.
they share like some of the development experiences and like one to build an entire voice agent with just Cursor, and he spent very minimal time actually looking at the code. Most of it was pretty good; it was correct,
Yeah.
right? He probably spent like an hour on a project that would have taken like 11, 12 hours otherwise, right?
Wow.
Without Cursor.
Yeah.
So it was incredible, and like seeing that. And I don't use Cursor enough, to be honest. I feel I should use it more. Just
I haven't
'cause
even heard of it. So I'm
yeah.
like, oh, Cursor. Okay, check that one. Yeah.
Just because I'm just not used to using like these AI coding tools to code for me, right?
Yeah.
But I can see how amazing it could really be for a lot of people who aren't as technically advanced, right? Like you can really. I tell my friends who are like business majors and business analysts now, like, yo, you guys should get in, like look at these technologies like N8N and Lovable and Cursor. You can really create products. They always have app ideas, right? Like, you
Yeah.
guys can actually create these app ideas you've been pitching me for all
Right.
this time, you can
Yeah.
actually create yourself now. There's no longer, oh, I gotta know how to code. I gotta know how to code.
Yeah.
One beginner course is on YouTube that's like 3 hours long is really all you need to start. And I think at that point, you have a pretty good fundamental understanding of things to just use AI to do the rest.
Nice. Now, would you recommend that somebody, if they're doing this, share some of their early, tools on a YouTube channel like you did, or would you say that that's a distraction? Just stick with the Reddits and the other place. Make sure you find like when should they build their own distribution engine like you
Yeah.
have?
One platform I haven't used enough, but I know a lot of tech people are on is like X, right? So
Yep.
like X / Twitter. Yeah, I definitely the whole building in public movement is like a big thing that a lot of founders are now doing because it creates some sort of personal brand, some reputation, some like giving back to the community so they can like really see that you're a real person, you're building real stuff, you're not spamming people. It's like a real product, right? You feel
Yeah.
like connected with you on a higher level. So I think just sharing your progress on X is great, right? If you're looking to get started.
Yeah.
I've seen like some YouTube channels like absolutely blow up just like where they're sharing their like, oh, creating this startup, right? And there's a coding vlog. They're just documenting themselves coding or, hey, this is the progress of my startup, right? And they're bringing you along your journey, right? Or they're bringing you along their journey. So things like that are pretty good. I highly recommend that. It's a great way to start your personal brand.
Yep.
It shows authenticity. It's a great way for yourself to document things, right? And with that, you actually get your probably very early customers. Like you won't have to be, like sending 10,000 DMs or trying to post your product on every single online forum to get your
Right.
first customers. You have like a following who will probably buy your product.
Yeah. How long have you been on YouTube from the time you started it was it just the SAT or was it even before that you had some stuff up there?
I had an anime channel when I was in
Okay.
high school. When I was
Yeah.
a junior, my friend and I started it. We would post like Naruto clips. It's like
Yeah.
very popular
Oh yeah.
anime stuff.
I know it. Yeah.
You repost there. At the time, YouTube had barely any restrictions. You can make money from posting like unoriginal content, right?
Yeah.
And yes, we did. I mean, like 10K off of that. When I was
Wow.
That's great.
yeah. So then I was like, wow, this is great. And that's when I learned about YouTube, like the power of
Nice.
YouTube. That's when I
Yeah.
knew, yeah, this is something I'm going to pursue in the future.
You know, sometimes I feel like when I hear like the stories like that, it's like, that helps somebody continue to go. You know, it could also have a negative effect if they hit that and then they can never do anything afterwards. But some of them, you know, it's like there could be the slog where it's like, you know, I'll point at my own son who's 12, just turned 13 actually, but years old. When he was about 11, 10, he started his YouTube channel. But it's like, you know, it's his fun thing. That's him playing video games, and you know, it's working at it, but it takes time, and you got to continue to refine those skills. But for him, you know, I forget, he got up to like maybe 300 followers, and he's kind of like, man, this is hard, and I'm not making any money on it. And every now and then he'll go back to it, but it could be hard when somebody doesn't get that initial feedback that's positive in that way.
No. I mean, my first like 10 videos, I got like 2 views on each of them. It would be me like going back and see my view count, right?
Yeah.
So in the beginning, it was super discouraging for sure. Like,
Right.
but you gotta stick with it. I think I wasn't discouraged in my SAT channel and my tech channel because I've seen like I know how it works out, right?
Yeah.
But with the anime stuff, yeah, it was pretty bad. Like the first like 10, 15 videos were like maximum like 100 views on a video. Right?
Interesting. Yeah. Gotcha. I know it's that consistency and learning from it, I think, is the key. As you said, you talked about the numbers, you know, as you're looking at that, it's like people got to then think about how they play the game. We've been working on that in the podcast channel alone, and it's been, interesting, but
the hook is the most important part, right? So,
right.
Yeah.
Yep. No, which exactly. We have a new strategy now. We've been working on for that. We're like, all right, here we go. Let's test this now, and we'll see what happens. But it's funny because there's also all these things out there. Just like I'm sure some of the things you said now is like people can hear them, but until they really do it, it doesn't fully click. Like and then it's that weird thing that the mentors can sometimes help us, but we're still like you still got to touch the hot stove, for lack of a better way to put it. Sometimes,
you gotta go through a ringer yourself. You're not gonna learn otherwise. You gotta go through it. Crash and burn and come from that. And then that's when you know who you really are.
No substitute for experience, especially failures.
So then what is right now next for you? Are you working on some new things that will be new products, or are you trying to just grow what you have?
I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel, my tech one at least.
Yeah.
Over 100K subscribers. That's the goal by end of the year. Yeah, that's the main one. And then the main product I'm trying to grow is my info product for Mentorship, just because of like the success it's had that I did not expect. Right. So it's my first ever high ticket product that I've ever launched. Like it was like a couple thousand. Right. And like, at first it was like imposter syndrome, just because like, damn, like would someone really want to pay a couple thousand to learn from me? Like really?
Yeah.
But then some of my students have made a lot of ROI, like crazy amount, to a point I feel like I would have asked for 10% stake.
Right? Yeah.
So I was like, man, maybe I'll undercharge, but great for them. But then I was like, no, this is like valid. And then I made a lot more pre-recorded content, just get more value. So to the point where like I know the value is like way higher than the price.
Yeah.
Right. Which is what you want as a mentor, right? It shouldn't be 1-to-1. It should be like 1 to like 15. Yeah. Right. But yeah, success been pretty good. I probably tripled my like full time off of like in a month off of just that. Right. Income from just the mentorship. Right. So then I was like, okay, yeah, this is like a product that I see that a lot of people want to learn. A lot of the students are like older than me. They're like full-time engineers. Right. So like everyone wants to learn how to create agents. It's a booming space. It's like opportunity. Luck is like when opportunity means preparation, right? So like this is a preparation opportunity mixing. And I feel like, this is like a product where following the Pareto principle, 80% results is like 20% of effort, right? So mentorship is like the main thing I want to grow. So I feel like as I grow my YouTube channel, the mentorship will grow, and then other things will grow as well, like some of the tech products. But that's great. I want to grow mentorship, and then I want to start one other like new AI agent for sure.
Okay, awesome.
planning phase of that, seeing
Yeah.
what's gonna happen.
Not sure which one just yet or what area.
No, actually, one of my friends who I jumped this entire space with, right? The one who my friend asked me, my other friend, to develop that Walmart agent back in the day.
Yeah.
Me and him have a meeting tomorrow. Like last week, we're like, okay, we're gonna plan something. We'll have an idea come this Friday, and we're gonna sit together and we're gonna build something in 2 weeks, and boom, we're gonna launch it.
That's
So
awesome.
we literally have a planning session tomorrow. So
It-
we're looking at social media space. That's like the
Yeah.
next trillion-dollar market, creator
Yeah.
market. And we have a client who reached out to me via YouTube who wants us to build like an AI agent for like driver safety. That like it's pretty cool. Like the concept's pretty cool. We had about 3 meetings with the person, with the team. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. That should be a pretty big project if that
Yeah.
comes.
That's awesome. Are you guys going to document that process or?
For the client, I don't know how open they'll.
No, meaning not that for the build for what you're going to do.
Oh,
Your new one.
for
that's
sure.
awesome.
Yeah. If I was launching an AI agent, yeah, probably. Just because, again, you get early customers like that, early feedback, everything is expedited. So there's no reason not to.
And it fits your brand of what you're doing and coaching people on too.
for
So
sure.
it's like a win-win-win-win, however you want to say
Yeah,
it.
exactly. And that was the best products to create are things that directly tie into what you already have going on in your life or your other businesses, right? You want to create like an ecosystem, right? That's the goal.
Yep. That makes sense. Now, do you think there's any, it's the dark part of the podcast. No, do you think there's any worry now when you think about like agents and as people do learn this, with AI and not just AI, but tools and other things that come out that are built heavily on that, make it even easier, as we said. Do you think that means that it's going to be harder to make money in this space? Or do you think it actually just means that you just have to make sure your marketing's solid enough to stand out when you build them?
Yeah, so marketing is always gonna play a big part. You can literally sell a horrible product to a bunch of people and make a great amount of money off if your marketing is one. And it's really when your product's great and your marketing's great where you like hit the moon, right?
Yeah.
But I think marketing so it will get easier to build cool products for sure, right? So at that point it's gonna be a marketing game, right? Who can match the social media, who can push content on social media the best, right? So yeah, that's like a inevitable, right? As more and more people learn, right? Even as I supply the information to a lot of people, like kind of raise competition. But the thing is, because the space is still very early, it's still a lot of it's very unsaturated, right?
Yeah.
Every industry, every company, every individual needs automation in their life, right? Whether they realize it or not, right? I think companies just now are realizing that, right? So there's so much clientele to grab. So I feel like it's gonna be like it's like an upside down parabola right now, where we're going up. We haven't hit the crest yet, but we're eventually gonna hit the crest. And that's just gonna be harder.
That makes sense. But I think with that, and back with your example there, Art and I, while we were at Disney or even at Netflix had a stronger bend towards, can it be automated? Like people would automate things a little more simplistically. There wasn't the same budget controls and things like that. But at Disney, every time you wanted to do something, it's like the approvals and the things you had to do, because to automate then meant you needed people who had this deeper coding experience. And then you look at the budgets and you're like, well, I don't know if it makes sense because it's going to take X amount of time to pay it off. Let's focus on these bigger ventures. Whereas I do think now it does change it, because people are like, no, you could do this, or you could have somebody on staff who could do this, or the consultants that you work with who just come in and do that. Now, with that though, I think there's two models, and I'm just curious, are you more about the subscription model when it comes to the things you sell, or do you look at one where if somebody's obviously doing and implementing for somebody, there's more of a flat fee and maybe an ongoing maintenance? Like, do you think there's a better model?
Yeah. So, for example, for client work like that, like I mentioned the driver safety one, it would be like a one-time fee plus like a monthly retainer for like maintenance, right?
Okay. Yeah.
If it's a tech product that you're pushing, like a SaaS or like a agent as a service, subscription makes the most sense, right? I know some like software is like a one-time purchase, but one-time purchase, you're gonna be stuck in a constant marketing like race where if you stop marketing, your sales are done because it's all one-time payments, right?
Yeah.
So you want subscriptions as much as possible. That's the goal.
Gotcha.
And when you're looking to sell your business, like I just recently am trying to sell one of my agents, the scheduling one. So it did like about 70,000 last year, right? And that's for like 2-3 slow months, like very slow months and like very part-time, like extremely part-time, right?
Yeah.
And we're trying to sell it for like, I think the on acquires, like you can do 3 to 4x yearly revenue as like this sell price. So we're trying to sell for like the 200K mark, right? So that'd be like the first exit if that does end up panning out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but with things like that, you need recurring revenue. Like buyers are looking for that. So even in that notion, recurring revenue is always king. So try to get that as much as you can. But with client work, a lot of the time it's just like a one-time job. So you can't really avoid the one-time fee only. So you just got to eat it up. But hey, it's good payment. Why not?
No, that makes sense. I love it. All right. If you had to give somebody coming into this right now advice who's like, oh, should I do this? Should I get into this? What's the one piece of advice you give them?
Man, I'm not going to use the advice that the Harvard guy gave you saying delegate. And that's his advice. I can't do that. If you want to join the AI agent space, I'll say number one advice would be try to think something so profound.
I know it's If you can't, you could also just tell them what's the one thing to be careful about. Like what's the trap? If that's easier.
Well, I guess here's a notice that I'll give him. There's a whole idea of like AI replacing jobs, right? That's like the biggest notion that's going on, right? One of the biggest notions, right? AI agents are going to replace jobs. You're creating potential products that are replacing full-time employees, right? And that's really real, and that's actually it's going to happen. It's inevitable, right? So now that you know, like you can deny it all you want. It's a fact. A lot of jobs are going to be replaced, right? It's just the way it's going to work, right? Companies are going to realize, this is inefficient to pay someone $8,000 a year when I can have an AI agent for $5K a month or a year. Sorry, that does the same thing, right? So because it's inevitable, you should no longer like shy away from it, be scared of AI or whatever. You try to embrace it and now be on the forefront of the movement, right? Try learn it, learn the technology. Try to be someone who's like a pioneer in the space, right? Instead of avoiding it altogether. That's I think.
No, it's a great point too. And it's a great point because it's going to position somebody, whether they stick it out in corporate America or whether they decide to go out on their own, because they could either be the one who's actually, the term entrepreneur, pushing this stuff and all the new stuff in the workplace, or they could be the one who is actually going out and now taking that and solving problems another way. Because this got me thinking about another way to think about it, because in the future, ChatGPT is probably going to release a bunch of their agents too, but it's almost these last mile or these unique ones that you're still going to have so many people who can then do it. Because how do you connect to that and do the unique things for your own business that you're going to be able to do? So a lot of opportunity here. So
and also I guess like small piece of advice would be, it's so like cliche, but like keep trying. Especially in business. I'd say like it's definitely gonna suck in the beginning. Like there's really few people who can say their first business succeeded, right? Like, you're gonna have a lot of failures, but at the same time, if you have fun with everything that you're doing and don't get too attached to like the final result, right? It's gonna keep you in the game longer. I think if you're too attached to the final result, right, then you're like it's just gonna mess up with you mentally, right? And you're not gonna have that motivation to really keep going, or discipline even. So definitely don't get tied to enjoy the process.
No, that's great advice. And we could see you living that. So that's
wise words.
Enjoy the game while you play it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We really enjoyed this, and we think a lot of our listeners are going to get a lot out of it and hopefully get inspired. And with that, if they want to reach out to you, how can they do so?
You can follow me on YouTube, subscribe, RKumarV, so RKUMARV. Okay, and then also follow me on Instagram, RiteshKV_.
Perfect. All right. We will let them know. And I think for myself, I don't think I'm following you on Instagram yet. So I'm going to find you on there too. Got you on YouTube, but
all you guys for sure. Thank you for having me on this podcast. It was a great time.
We loved it.
Great.
Thank you.
Very charismatic. Great time all together. I think this is probably like the first real podcast I've ever done, actually. So.
All right, we'll take
there. You go. Now you have a story to tell.
Yeah, you did great as well. So it's awesome.
It was great. Thank you for having me for sure.
Thank you.
Good thing.